Hey folks, Mike Seeklander here with the American Warrior Society and Shooting Performance. I'm also a sponsored Wilson Combat team shooter. I'm here with Bill Wilson, the founder of Wilson Combat. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about the X9, the new super secret pistol project that's been in development since, for how long?
Almost 2 years now.
So I got to ask this, first of all, because it's an awesome project. In full disclosure, I am one of the testers, and I'm very impressed. But where did this idea come from? Where did this originate?
There's so many polymer striker-fired pistols on the market. I mean, I knew that we needed a high-capacity pistol, but the last thing we needed to do was jump into the striker-fired pistol market that's so flooded already. I mean, what is, like every 6 months somebody's got a new one on the market or whatever, and that's not our customer base. Well, we wanted a high-quality, high-cap gun. I've always been intrigued with the Browning Bdm pistol. I don't know if any of our people watching are familiar with the BDM, but it was a cool pistol that was way ahead of its time, in my opinion, that Browning came up with, and it didn't go over too well, and they're actually fairly hard to find now, even on Gunbroker. But the unique thing about that pistol was the way the frame was manufactured. The backstrap come in from the back, and when you took the grip off of the gun, almost all the internal workings and the frame was accessible. And so, I looked at that concept and say, you get where you want to get. I mean, you can make the gun light, you can make it simple. And then the other goal that I had, I've always been kind of a fan of the Astra A70, and I like the feel of the Astra A70. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to be able to get a 15+1 gun that felt like an Astra A70? And I can get there if I try the concept of the BDM, because the frame doesn't take up much room. And so that was the original concept that we started with, and we kind of, with the engineering staff and everything, we bounced ideas back and forth. We made prototypes, and kind of come up with what we got now. But I mean, the whole concept started with wanting to build a quality metal framed high cap 9mm with modern machinery, was easy to manufacture.
One of the things that stood out to me when I got it in my hands was, the first thought was, this is a high capacity, very shootable, fighting, and let me label it, and I don't want to mislabel it, 1911 style pistol. Of course, you're known for 1911 style pistols. Is that a misnaming of the pistol, 1911 style pistol, or is it so far removed from some of the traditional 1911 style features? Because it's definitely a fighting pistol. It's definitely a high capacity defensive carry pistol, right?
I would just call it a 1911 style pistol. We feel like we retained all the really critical, important things, which was the 1911 trigger mechanism, basically, and most of the ergonomics of the pistol.
Let me ask you this, and of course we'll talk about the features and benefits of and all the things that are incredible about it. But here's my first question for you. What was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in the development of the pistol? From the inception, hey, here's the idea, and man, we just hit a roadblock.
We had a few roadblocks. Which one was the big one? Okay, probably the trigger track and figuring out how to get the trigger in there. We fought a lot of stuff because we're used to building guns. In 1911s, that the frame is built for a 45 caliber length cartridge, 38 Super 45 caliber cartridge. A cartridge is like 1.25 inches long. Okay, well now, obviously to make this gun small, we've got to shorten everything up front to back. And figuring out exactly what the machining track, path was to make all that stuff, and you still use a standard, sear and disconnector and that, and get the trigger right, and that was probably our single biggest thing we fought.
You are, I believe, known to be a perfectionist. I don't know if you would label yourself like that, but in this project, do you think you reached perfection with the X9?
I think we're real close to it. I really do. I mean, we were almost done with the project a while back, and then some of the engineering staff come up with some really cool ideas. Like, okay, we're going back. We're not going to keep going down this path. We're going to go back to the drawing board, and make this thing as good as we can make it before we bring it to market. So where we ended up now, I think there's not very many stones we haven't already overturned now.
Right, and this is, the evolution of the handgun is very interesting. One thing that stands out is even today, as we continue to test, my particular test model must have hit 1,700 or 1,800 rounds I haven't cleaned it. You make fun of me all the time because I don't maintain my 1911s like I should. Haven't cleaned it. One-time lubrication today and completely flawless. No malfunctions whatsoever. And I think across the board, that's what you're seeing in this particular handgun, which is why I call it a fighting handgun. What are the other features that stand out about the handgun that you think the person that's going to buy this handgun should know about? What stands out?
I think the biggest thing on it is the ergonomics. We've shown this gun to a lot of people that weren't part of the testing, that were just like shooting friends and, acquaintances and stuff like that, and let them handle the gun and everything. And the main comment that everybody always says, man, I can't believe how good this feels in my hand.
Man, I think the only thing I can compare it to is when you get into a really, nice car, as you like fast cars as well. It just, when the car fits you and it has the right ergonomics, for lack of a better term, you can drive it well. And one of the first things I noticed with this particular gun was I can shoot it well. And of course, I've been shooting 1911s, your 1911s for a long time. But just the way it feels, everything about it. It points right, it shoots right. The releases are where they need to be. And the funny thing is, now obviously you're going to offer the pistol with two different grip dynamics. You could talk about that, but it fits really small hands to really large hands, and I don't see anybody on either end of the spectrum complaining about how it feels in their hand. To me, it's very comfortable across the board.
Yeah, I really don't think they will. There was a lot of work to get from the first prototype, fireable prototype, to where we are now. I remember going to the range with the very first firing prototype, and first few magazines I put through, it's like, we got to go back to the drawing board. I mean, every time I would try to shoot multiple shots, 3+ shots, the gun was like turning in my hand. Right. And it's like crap, And so we had to totally reevaluate the texture on the front strap, the texture on the grips, and everything like that. And first generation was, in my mind, unshootable for an experienced shooter. I mean, it's okay to shoot 1 or 2 shots, but if you want to shoot 6 shots and be under control of all of them, it was almost impossible. And the second generation was a dramatic improvement. So, okay, we can live with this. And we kept working on it, and by the third generation, I think this first time, you've got a second generation gun. Today, you actually got to shoot production guns. And I think you got to admit, it's much more controllable with the texturing that we have now on the gun than the one you've been shooting.
Bill, I think that's unique in your in how you develop guns products as a whole. Is you're a shooter. I mean, you're a shooter from way back when. You were competing way before I was competing. I was reading your books and watching you on video competing. I mean, your son's a shooter. The other testers, the people on the team are shooters. I mean, not just average shooters or even good shooters. They're phenomenal shooters, and I think that has helped in the development. How do you think you being a shooter and being able to see and feel things that a gun does in a recoil has helped you develop a product like this?
I like to think of myself a little bit like, for example, the original founder of the McLaren Formula One team. He was a driver, and initially in the team, he did all the driving and the testing and all that stuff, and that's how they became so proficient what they were doing, because he could go back to the engineers and say, it needs this, this, and this. I think that's an advantage we have over some other people, because I can go back to those guys that aren't, quote, gun guys, and they're just super smart engineers, and say, it felt like this, it needs this.
One of the things that stands out to me when we talked about the gun earlier today was you said in development, number one goal was reliability, because this is going to be a defensive pistol. But then very, very shortly thereafter, you said that it had to meet the accuracy standards. I mean, it's got the Wilson Combat logo. It's got to meet that accuracy standard. It's got to be accurate. And a lot of times with a lot of guns, that becomes an unbalancing part or a trade-off. You don't find a lot of guns that are super reliable, that are exceptionally accurate. How did you pull it off with this particular gun? By
staying fairly true to the 1911 platform in that respect. We really didn't change anything on the gun over a standard 1911 that would really have any negative effect on the accuracy. We learned a little bit from the Spec Ops 9 project, where we deviated from that a little bit, and we initially had some accuracy issues. We had to deal with that, and we put a lot of hard work into getting the Spec Ops 9's guns to shoot as well as we expected them to. We didn't want to go back down that road. We'd already hit that dead end before. Right. And so And the other thing we didn't want to lose at all is the trigger mechanism. I mean, that's what makes a 1911 a 1911 is being able to get a nice, crisp, consistent trigger pull on it. I mean, so first off, it's got to work. Second off, it's got to have a good trigger so you can shoot it well. And then being accurate, in my mind, is just a bonus. You know, I mean, let's face it, a gun that works every time, has a good trigger action so you can shoot it easy, that'll shoot 2 inches at 15 yards is more than adequate for a self-defense handgun.
Right.
But we're not satisfied there. We want it to shoot better than that.
I think that's very unique. I'll throw the hard question. This is you are Wilson Combat has grown from a very small to a very huge company. You're one of the leaders in custom firearms manufacturing. I mean, to me, you're the leader. But let me ask you this: this project releases tomorrow. Millions of people find out about it. They pre-order 1,000 of these guns, and the revenue starts flowing in. Is that more important than you meeting your end goals with the original pistol? Meaning, I want the ultimate defensive handgun that's extremely reliable, that meets the Wilson Combat accuracy, stringent requirements, and is ergonomic as all get out and point straight. What's more important to you?
Getting a good product on the market, satisfying our customers is much more important to me. And right now, I mean, I've spent so much time and worked so hard on this project here. I'm just ready to get it out of my hands and get back to rifle projects. That's my main love, is to work on the AR platform stuff. And I'm anxious to get done with the X9 project and focus on AR-15 projects, AR-10 projects type stuff. So.
Well, I would agree with that. And I think when the end customer sees the gun, I think you knocked it out of your park. So cheers to that.
Hey, cheers. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, Mike.